Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome back to the Freestyle Chess Go Challenge in 2025 that's going on now in Weissenhaus in Germany. We're now in the quarterfinals of this amazing chess event, and in the quarterfinals the tempo of the game is a little bit different. So far in the league format that we have followed, it was a rapid event in which the players had 10 minutes on the clock plus 10 seconds increment per move, but now in the quarterfinals actually it becomes a classical event. The players in the quarterfinals will play two-game match in which they have 1 hour and 30 minutes on the clock plus 30 seconds increment per move, so it becomes actually now a classical event. And we're following now an amazing game that finished a couple of minutes ago between Magnus Carlsen and Nodirbek Abdusattorov. So today Magnus Carlsen had the white pieces. Tomorrow Nodirbek will actually also have white pieces, and then if for instance the match ends with a drawish result, then the players will play an additional tiebreak game. So let's see now what happened. This was the official random setup. They had to play with the white pieces in this position. Magnus opened with the move f4. Really interesting idea already to put more pressure against this pawn, and actually it is already very hard to defend this pawn. Even if you try something like b6, then e4, white will simply expand. So here after move f4, Nodirbek decided to play simply f5, going for the same stuff. Magnus took now the pawn, Nodirbek also took now the pawn, and you see both players will probably in the next couple of moves lose also their rooks. We have now the move e4 by Magnus, and now we have bishop to b1, king to b1, and now f takes e4. We have g3 here by Magnus, simply attacking further the e4 pawn. And the issue here actually for black is that you cannot really easily defend this pawn on e4 with the move d5. I think this attack by Magnus Carlsen was really beautiful, because d5 actually becomes really a bad position for black after potential c4. Then you want to of course deflect this pawn from the defense of this one, and even if for instance black continues to somehow keep the center locked here, then you simply take, and then a check is possible. You have to now cover. Now look at this, there is a huge tension here already around the square e6, and now you just break the position with the move d3, and I think black will not have a fun game in this particular position for sure. So that's why after move g3 here Nodirbek continues just with c6, and then also he's trying maybe finally to cement the position with the move d5. Maybe here Nodirbek had an opportunity to play knight to b6. This would be maybe even here a better choice for Nodirbek. You will lose the rook eventually, but the move c6, what actually it does, it weakens a little bit further the structure in front of black's king. And you see in the next couple of moves that this move c6 will become a little bit a positional problem in Nodirbek Abdusattorov's position. Magnus took now finally the pawn on e4. We have now the move g6, knight to e3, bishop to b6, forcing now reaction finally by Magnus. And after bishop takes b8 and king to b8, notice now in this scenario that there are several problems here for Nodirbek. The knight actually doesn't have a good square anymore. You saw in the previous line, maybe the knight should have been already on b6. If you move it to c7, there is now a huge problem in the next couple of moves. There could be maybe some kind of an attack by white here on the a file, so it becomes now really I would say a one-way ticket, but in white favor. We have now knight to b3 by Magnus, simply developing the knight of course, and now Nodirbek plays already his first tiny little inaccuracy. Look at this, what black should have actually played. It's really complicated, I would say a stockfish line that Nodirbek should have played here. For instance, you try knight to e6 and then you try for bishop to g4 and attack against the knight, then you just play a knight to c5, and knight to c5 would now at least activate your pieces. Then you play knight takes c5, bishop to c5. You allow even here moves like bishop to d7, but now after rook to d8, bishop to g4, and rook to d2, this would be I think a pretty equalish position. Maybe slightly better here for white because of the weakened structure in front of black's king, but these are opposite colored bishops, and in many of these lines we know that opposite colored bishops end with a drawish position, so this was maybe here the way to go for Nodirbek to somehow keep himself in the game. But after knight to b3 that Magnus Carlsen played, Nodirbek tried knight to c7, and this move is simply too passive because of queen to b4. Now Nodirbek is already under huge pressure, and now he has to give up here the bishop for a knight, but the bishop is supposed to be here a good defender for black's king, because now the bishop is covering in some attacks, in some potential attacks on the a file. The bishop is covering the a7 square, and the knight is covering the a8 square. So now he should have somehow kept maybe both of his pieces on the board in order to protect the king. Now after bishop to e3, d takes e3, now we see many tactical problems. Knight to c5 could happen, bishop to f3, then king c3, king to c2, rook to a1 is now the main attacking goal, to build some kind of a beautiful rook and queen battery on the a file. Nodirbek continues now with an attack against the queen, but Magnus just improves the position of the queen and simply attacks further the a file. We have now e5. Magnus continues with the beautiful bishop to f3. This is a provocative move by Magnus Carlsen, because obviously he wants to take, for instance, after e takes f4, then you takes, and then when the knight comes maybe here to d4, then to b5. Again, I would say game over here for black. Bishop to f3 is beautiful, because actually it allows here e4 for Nodirbek Abdusattorov, but that's the move that Magnus Carlsen anticipated. Now he can step back with the bishop, and after a couple more moves he can still reroute his bishop into the attack. Still, this is now becoming also a vulnerable pawn. The rook is somehow stuck to the defense of this pawn, so very good line here by Magnus Carlsen. Queen to g7, c4, kicking away the knight. Now comes this idea that we have discussed, king to c2. Everything is glued together, compact here. The king is protected by the knight, the king is protecting the pawn. No good attacking chances are here for black. Now the rook is coming on a1, and I would dare to say it's already it's seemingly very game over here for Nodirbek Abdusattorov. He tries somehow to battle queen to f7, attacking the pawn, but now bishop to f1, simply protecting it. It's still rook to a1 is possible. And what should you do? If you try knight to g4, then queen to b4 is again very nasty to handle. Knight to c5 or knight to a5, again rook to a1 in some lines later is possible. So again, a messy game here for Nodirbek. He tried d6, which was even a worse continuation, because now Magnus can immediately attack the a file. He never really challenged this pawn on e3. Knight to g4 maybe slightly better continuation for Nodirbek, but I think in any of these lines Magnus should be better. Here knight to d7 by Nodirbek, knight to d4, nice centralizing move by the knight, knight to c5, and now b4, simply kicking away, pushing away all of the pieces by Nodirbek. Nodirbek desperately tries now to bring more defenders into the game, but now obviously b5 breaks the position. C takes b5, queen to b6 with some threats of knight to c6 is also nasty. Rook takes a6 is possible. For instance, you try queen to c7 to somehow get the queen into the defense and also trade off the queens. Then rook takes a6 is possible, because then the rook is protecting the queen, and again a game over here for black. King to c7, then you just play rook to b5, and again the position is much better for white. White has an extra piece, and this should be game over. After queen to b6, Nodirbek tried knight to b4, which again is nothing spectacular, because Magnus played now calm. King to d2, and believe me or not, in this particular position Nodirbek Abdusattorov resigned. So what's the issue? B takes c4 doesn't make sense. You just play queen to b4, of course. If you try king to c8 to escape somehow, then the rook is coming, then you get checkmated. If you try here, I don't know, something else, then rook to a8 is coming for sure. If you try, for instance, queen to c7, then rook to a8 deflects the king from the fence of the queen. So again, nothing can be done here for Nodirbek Abdusattorov. So great game by Magnus Carlsen. He played here really like a machine, found interesting attacking ideas. Nodirbek weakened somehow his structure in front of the king too much. Magnus punished that and has now the lead in their match. Tomorrow, as we mentioned, Nodirbek has the white pieces, and he has to now win the game in order to somehow force a tiebreak against Magnus Carlsen. So this is a great game. If you want to see some other amazing games that we have followed here in the Freestyle Chess Gold Challenge in 2025, check out our coverage. Here are some links of some games that we have analyzed before. And if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos. And what do we say is always in the end, chess is the best, of course.